Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be talking about all of the books that I plan on reading aloud with my children this year in school. Okay, so this kind of drifts away from my typical videos. Usually I talk about books that I'm reading, and I just thought today it's back to school season. We have started school already. We started last week, and I'm all in that mood of planning things. So I homeschool my 6 kids, and a big part of our schooling is read alouds. We used to use a curriculum that was literature based, and if you don't know what that is, you just basically read books instead of textbooks, and I absolutely loved it, but I just couldn't fit it in with all of my kids, and it just wasn't good for the season of life we were in. So I kept the read aloud part of it, and we moved on to doing school online. We still read aloud, and I get to just plan it and have fun with it. So I have let's see, so I have 18 books on a list that I plan on reading with the kids. We usually do audiobooks, and then while we're doing the audiobooks, we do crafts or color or draw or whatever. And it's just a fun time together. There's so many memories that we've made doing read alouds, and I want to continue until my kids graduate from high school. The fun thing about it is I absolutely love to read, and so I actually get to read more than I typically would because I'm reading to my children. And so I pick books that I want to read off of my list that I think my kids would enjoy, and I kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So I am going to go over these books. These are all middle grade, and they are books that I feel like my kids would enjoy, but I also know a lot of adults really like to read middle grade, and so maybe you'll find some books in here that you are interested in as well. Okay, so the first one on my list, and I don't plan on reading these in order, it's just kind of what we are in the mood for at the time. It's just the first one I wrote down. So the first one is The Library of Ever, and this is by Zeno Alexander. Okay, so The Library of Ever is about a little girl named Lenora whose parents travel the globe and kind of leave her home, and she just ends up getting really bored, and she ends up finding a secret door in the library, and turns out she gets to be one of the apprentice librarians. So she gets to go on all kinds of adventures, things like discovering new cities, relocating lost penguins, and things like that. And in the midst of it, she has to try to save knowledge from the sinister forces that want to destroy it altogether. So it sounds really interesting. I love books that are set in libraries, and so I'm looking forward to reading that one with my kids. Okay, I tried to pick a few different types of genres. The problem is we really love fantasy, so you might see more fantasy than others, but I did try to mix it up a little bit because if we're not careful, we will only read fantasy because we love it. But I decided that I wanted to mix it up, so I picked a mystery, and this will be our first like actual mystery, and so I'm really excited for it. It's called Framed, and it is by James Ponti. Okay, so this series is about 12-year-old Florian Bates, who ends up working with the FBI and solving crimes, and it's your typical like middle grade mystery type thing. But here's the first paragraph of the synopsis. It says, get to know the only kid on the FBI director's speed dial and several international criminals' most wanted lists, all because of his theory of all small things, in this hilarious start to a brand new middle grade mystery series. So it sounds like it's going to be fun. I've never heard of it, but I think it'll be great. It kind of gives me like, what is that one called? It kind of gives me like Get Smart vibes. I don't know if you've ever watched that old TV show where they're kind of like, it's like a comedy, but with a national agency. So it could be good. Okay, so the next one is Zachary Ying and the Dragon Emperor. This one is by, I'm gonna say this wrong, Zirin J. Chow. And it is about a little boy who ends up, if I remember right, I started reading it a while ago. I had a NetGalley version of it. So Zachary is a American Chinese boy, and he's the only one in his class that is of Asian descent, and he's just trying to figure out how to be true to his culture, but also it's hard because no one understands his culture, and so he ends up being embarrassed by things, and his mom embarrasses him because she sends him foods that are good, but they're not the normal foods. And he ends up going on this adventure, and I assume he's going to end up embracing his Chinese culture, but the adventure he goes on is sealing up the underworld and keeping all that is in the underworld from destroying the earth. And so we're all there for that because there's dragons and probably magic and all kinds of things. So fantasy for us is a let's go and read that. Okay, so the next one is actually a biography, and it is Harriet Tubman, conductor on the Underground Railroad. This one, I don't think you need to know much about it. It is a biography of Harriet Tubman. I would like to start adding some more biographies in for my kids. This one is a middle grade biography, and so I'm hoping that it captures their interest and teaches them a little bit more about this topic. So I am excited about reading this one. Okay, so the next two books are a series, and this is Absolutely Truly, A Pumpkin Falls Mystery, and Yours Truly, A Pumpkin Falls Mystery. First of all, these covers are amazing. Okay, so this series is by Heather Vogel Frederick, and okay, so this is a little bit of the synopsis. It says, an unsent letter in a first edition copy of Charlotte's Web leads to a hunt for treasure in the heartwarming middle grade mystery from the author of the Mother-Daughter Book Club. That's all you had to say. We love Charlotte's Web, and that sounds fantastic. So I'm excited to get into this one. I'm not real sure what the second one is about, but I'm sure if we love the first one, the second one will also be fantastic. So the next one is called Ember and the Ice Dragons. This one sounds super, super cute. Okay, I'm just going to read you the synopsis because tonight I am having a really hard time describing books, and so I'm just going to revert to that. It says, Ember St. George is a dragon, at least she was before her adopted father, a powerful but accident-prone magician, turned her into a human girl to save her life. Unfortunately, Ember's growing tendency to burst into flames at certain temperatures, not to mention her invisible wings, is making it too dangerous for her to stay in London. The solution is to ship Ember off to her aunt's research station in frigid Antarctica. Yeah, that sounds awesome. It's got dragons, it's got Antarctica, and it's got comedy. So we're gonna love that one. Okay, so the next one we're actually already in the middle of. It is the second book to the Dragon Slippers series by Jessica Day George. We are reading Dragonflight. We have loved this series so far, and we're really enjoying the second book. I don't want to tell you about the second book because that would give spoilers for the first one, but the first one is about a girl who ends up making friends with dragons and saving a kingdom. And so that's a very vague description, but it's a very good series. So we're excited to finish that one as well. Okay, so if you've been here for any length of time, you know that I really love Sharon Creech. And so I had to have at least one of her books on our list. So this one I chose is One Time, and it is about a little girl named Gina Philomena, and she's been told she has an overactive imagination. With her bright clothing and artistic spirit, she's always felt different from the other kids in her class. That is until she meets her new neighbor, a mysterious boy named Antonio with a wide, welcoming smile. Add a creative new teacher, Miss Lightstone, and a world of possibilities opens up for Gina, Antonio, and their classmates. With the help of Antonio and Miss Lightstone, will Gina find the answers to the questions, who am I, and who do I want to be? So Sharon Creech always just writes really heartwarming stories. Every single one that I've read has been completely different from the last. And so I am looking forward to this particular one. We'll see what she has in store for us. Okay, so the next one is called Tensley Clover. This is by Chelsea Walker Flagg, and it is a coming of age story, but for an elf who is the size of a chipmunk. Tensley ends up growing into this magical power that is kind of weird, and she doesn't fit in, and so she goes off on an adventure to try to find people that are more like her and all that goes with that. So it sounds really cute. I love the cover. Hopefully it'll be something that we enjoy. Okay, so the next one I actually read earlier this year, and I really wanted to add it to our list because I think my kids would really enjoy it. It is called A Stitch in Time, and it is by Penelope Lively. This is a book about a little girl who goes on vacation with her family, and they stay in this house that is over 100 years old, and she learns about the little girl that used to live there as well, and she starts kind of seeing things or hearing things that aren't there, and essentially she's kind of like hearing the past or seeing the past, and it's very light on the science fiction. She never actually goes back in time, but she is able to figure out what happened to the little girl, and it's really good. I enjoyed it. I think my kids will really love it. I think it's a great introduction to time travel and sci-fi and that kind of concept. So I'm excited for them to read that. It also has lots of fossils and lots of beach exploration and things like that. We live close to a beach, so I thought it would be something that they would enjoy. Okay, so the next one is a contemporary fiction for middle grade. It is called Life in the Balance. This one is by Jen Petro Roy. It is about a little girl who loves to play softball and trying to balance it with her life and everything, and she comes to a point where she wants to play on the championship team for the summer, and she finds out that her family doesn't have the money to do so, and so she ends up trying to raise the money by entering a talent show, and it kind of comes down to her trying to figure out if she even wants to play softball anymore and those kinds of things. So it sounded really good. I thought it would be something different. As you can see, we love fantasy, so I have lots of fantasy in there, but I wanted to add something a little bit more realistic and different into the mix, so I'm hoping this one will be a good one. Okay, so the next one we have also already started reading. It is called Of a Feather, and it is by Dana Lawrence. This is about, first of all, it is about an owl, and he is kind of a late bloomer as far as flying and all of those things. And then it is also about a little girl who has been in and out of foster care. Her mom is struggling with her mental health and has been in and out of mental hospitals. And she ends up going and living with an aunt who rescues birds and takes care of birds. So far, I have really loved the owl's perspective. The story kind of reminds me a little bit of Rio, if you've ever watched that movie, where the bird is just kind of shy and doesn't really want to do the things that a bird should do. We love owls, as you can see in this family, mainly me, but if there's a story about an owl, we want to read it, and so we are loving this one. Probably soon I will have it in a wrap up for you guys so that you can decide if you want to read it, but it's so far very, very good. Okay, so I really love Brandon Sanderson, and when you tell me that there's a middle grade written by Brandon Sanderson, we have to read that. I'm just saying, it has to happen. And so we are going to be reading Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians. Okay, so Alcatraz is a foster child, and he has this uncanny ability to break things. And so on his 13th birthday, he gets this inheritance from his parents. They are long gone, and it's just a bag of sand. And he's like, okay, why did I need a bag of sand? Well, he learns that it's not an ordinary bag of sand, and it is quickly taken from the League of Evil Librarians that are trying to destroy the world by spreading misinformation and all of those things. And yeah, he has to use his ability to break things to save the world. And so, sounds good. What I really love about this book, I've read just a small portion of it. Brandon Sanderson puts himself in this character and basically pretends that he's Alcatraz and that Brandon Sanderson is his ulterior, or like, not ulterior, is his like alias, and he really is Alcatraz, and he uses Brandon Sanderson as basically like a disguise. And so I think that's really cool, especially for middle grade. I think it's fun for them to just kind of think outside the box and imagine that. So I really do like that. Can't wait for the kids to read it, and I can't wait to finish it. I've only read, I think, like the first couple of chapters, so yeah. Okay, so the next one you probably heard of. This is Pax, and it is by Sarah Pennypacker. This is about a little boy who found a fox as a kit and ends up taking it in and making it his pet, and he has raised this fox since it was a baby. And his father ends up having to move. I think he has to join the military, and he has to take his son to his grandfather, which is his father's house, and the fox can't go. And so the little boy has to release Pax into the wild, and the story is all about them finding each other again. And I just can't wait for my kids to read it. I think they're going to enjoy it. We love foxes and animals, and I think it's going to be a good one. Okay, and the last one is kind of a fun one. It is a murder mystery, which is not something that we've read before, and I think my kids are finally starting to get old enough that we can kind of dive into some of these things. It is Premeditated Myrtle, and this is by Elizabeth C. Bunce. This is all about a little girl named Myrtle who loves crime scene investigation and law and all of those things, and so she ends up investigating murders that end up somehow happening around her, somewhat like Agatha Christie's characters, where they're just kind of always in the midst of where a murder is. And so yeah, I'm excited to get into this series. I think it'll be fun, and I think my kids will really enjoy it. Okay, so Do you ever have a day where you just kind of feel like your brain's not working? I really hope this video made some type of sense. If it didn't, forgive me, but this is all the books that I will be reading with my kids this year. This is a list that's a year long, so it will last from right now, August, until next August, and then we will have another list. Sometimes we get through all the books on my list, sometimes we don't touch hardly any of them, and sometimes we get through all of them and add more. It just really depends on the year and what's going on, and so I'm really excited. All of these I have found on audiobook, which makes Read Alouds a little more fun for me because I can join in with the crafts and things like that. I also have other books that I read to them out loud myself. This is just the list of audiobooks that I found and that I plan on reading with my kids this year. So if you've read any of these, let me know in the comments below. Please like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the little bell that will notify you whenever I post a new video, and I will see you in the next one.